Let's begin the program this morning in Labrador on line number 5. Good morning, Jim Learning. You're on the air.
Sir, how are you?
I'm very well this morning, Jim. How about you?
Good, thanks.
Good.
I want to talk about Crown Land this morning for a minute, Patty.
Go right ahead.
The first a little opinion about poor Mr. Dunphy's case in the RNC, you call it? Yeah. Sorry, I just slipped on that. I don't think people should be making judgments on this. Opinions is all right, but obviously management could have made a mistake there too in sending this guy in, and he maybe wasn't quite qualified to deal with the situation he got into. So blame is easy, blame is cheap, blame is quick, blame is not solution.
I absolutely agree 100%, Jim.
That's all I'll say about that.
Okay.
The problem I just want to mention about, again, here I am, a Labradorian, complaining about how I'm being treated by the Big Island.
Go right ahead.
And they always say that we bitch a lot up here, but that's not what I do. I bitch and I do things too. What I'm talking about this morning is Crown Lands. They had a lands review thing a while ago where they went to a few communities and listened to a bunch of people talk about what they thought of the Crown Lands policies. Well, it's kind of like, how do you do that unless you're totally familiar with the whole policy? Being critical of it or having input into it is, I don't know what that's all about. Anyway, I went. And I learned that they have a new policy for Labrador regarding Labrador rivers. There will be no more cabins on Labrador rivers. Like, whoa. We lived on rivers, and they have a definition of the thing they call squatters' rights. Well, we weren't squatters, we were homesteaders. I'd like to hear that squatter thing gone. They have a policy around squatters' rights. Mm-hmm. Again, I think it's to push, I know what the motivation of all this is, but it's only speculation on my part. It's just to push Labradorians off rivers or get them off islands or wherever they want, and pull them back into where they can control them and control us, and whatever they want to do with the river, they do with that little bit less of interference. That's my take on that. I mean,
well, it's extraordinary to know that they have, in many people's views, abused the Grand River. They have made developments when people who were concerned with the environment were rebuffed, and at the same time say that it's in an effort to protect and to use your words, to herd everyone back away from the river so they can keep an eye on them and dictate what they do. It's really asking for it both ways, and there's no question people will be upset by it, and justifiably so.
Yeah, well, the thing about that is we do know, and we have a big old thick document that came out in the 70s, that they intend to dam every river between south of the Kinamoo on down to the Pinware. This is on the books to be done. And those are all salmon rivers south here. They're heavy salmon rivers, including the Eagle. The Eagle goes down as well. Matter of fact, the Eagle gets deflected over into the Paradise, which takes out both rivers. And they're very fond of taking out a bunch of rivers once, as they've done here. Like, we look at these scars and then get mad. We can't do anything because people feel like they feel, well, marginalized and hopeless about the whole thing. We have the small population. We're never represented. We just have people in there that don't really fight for us that hard. They have to toe the party line is what I'm saying, and that's the problem.
It is, absolutely, and it's obviously a problem. So how can this be handled, though? Because we cannot, at the other side, and I don't want to take the polar extreme, we can't have free reign, and there's got to be some control of squatters' rights, too, and not just in Labrador, but here on the island as well. So how do you appropriately handle it? Because it can't be a free-for-all. I'll just leave it at that. And your response, sir?
Oh, of course not. It's never a free-for-all. We all like regulations. We love them, and rule of law. We like that, too. This is not about being radical like that, but it is about being fair.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the 90s when Goodrid they put a freeze on the Eagle River because they didn't want to see any more fish camps there. So they had two guys that were local guys that were trying to get fish camps. They didn't get them. They put a freeze on. That was the excuse. Along comes Goodrid Hudson. What's her name? Goodrid Hutchings.
Yeah.
And has got to get permission to put the cabin up on the Eagle. Not a problem. And our boys are still sitting there. Well, look, they're flying over our heads with helicopters, bringing stuff in there, and we still have nothing. Anyway, we rectified that. We went to work and blocked the whole thing and took the helicopter for a week and fixed it. The boys got their permits, and they're working. at their camps. So that's what can and should happen. But it's about being fair is my point. So don't do this. I mean, tell me this. If you go all across Canada, do you find cabins on rivers? Have you ever seen that?
Oh, of course.
Nothing but that.
Absolutely right. That's where people flock for the obvious reason.
When you get to Labrador, no, you can't do it. Don't tell me we're not under some kind of a weird colonial rule, because we are.
But Jim, you can't pop a cabin up on every river wherever you like on the island either. It can't be done.
Not a problem. I get that. That's exactly right. I'm using I am impacted by this directly, although I'm not going to make a big deal of my case because I'm going to deal with it. I applied for the old homestead place, and my application was cruising through. I didn't do all the right things because I was sidetracked with an ailment, and I had to deal with that. And between the jigs and reels, I've let it go for about 19 years. But now I went back to check it, and they told me the whole thing is chucked out because they have this new policy about no more cabins on rivers. Well, mine is not a cabin. Mine is a home. That's where I live. So
I understand. Yep.
So this is what I'm saying. We're just through this squatters' rights thing, and we're legitimate homesteaders in this territory. The boat wasn't waiting there with all the regulations when we got off the boat. They were written like everything else as time goes on, but because we're a marginalized population, they get to kick us around a lot. That's my point.
Yeah, and you know what? And I can accept that point. I wonder if when you refer to it as some sort of colonial oppression or rule, if it's any different than if I picked out a choice spot on the Salmon River, we'll say, for instance, where I thought, my God, right on the bend here, I can see well down the river, and I love the location, and I have access from a close-by roadway, and then they tell me, no, you can't put it there. I wonder why it's different here. How it would be viewed different here than as opposed to Labrador? Like for me, I don't think of it as anything colonial or oppression. I think of it as control of a piece of land that I don't own or that I would like to buy from the Crown and put up a cabin or a permanent residence, whatever the case may be, but I can't do it. So why is it any different here than it is there? And how can it be viewed different here than it is there? That's all I was asking.
Well, right, I hear you. Well, for that, I have no good answer for that other than the fact that when it comes to anything close to the Eagle, there's a guarded jealousy there. It is a number one salmon river. I started a life on that river. We salmon fished it with nets right up into the river where we shouldn't have been, and the whole thing got changed, of course, and it should have. I agree with that. But the point is that has been picked as some kind of a prime area. Big people should apply. Everything else is like rubber-dubs like us should be kept off it. That is my biased view on that. And I'm not wrong, I'm sure, but I can't prove it.
Oh, no, your opinion is all that counts this morning, sir. I was only asking questions because I've been in a very similar circumstance where I thought, my goodness, would I ever love to develop this piece of land? One, where it's against a body of water, not a river, it's a pond, but I've been denied for a variety of reasons, floodplains and buffers and stuff. And there's obviously places and people I know who have picked out spots on the Gander River and the Salmon River and North River and Colonette where they've been disallowed their hopes of building a cabin. So I know, and it does feel like we're being told how to behave, told where we can and cannot operate far too much. And on that point, we agree, I think, 100%.
Yeah, well, in my case, with this that I'm fighting for here, this is not, I don't own a cabin. I never will.
It's your permanent
That's
residence.
My house.
I understand, yes, sir.
That's my house. It's a residence, so it's not a cabin. But to be just all of a sudden create a new rule that comes in, and it just seems so convenient that, well, let's avoid this extra step of having to deal with people on rivers, because I'm sure there's not that many people in Labrador who want to squat on a river everywhere. There isn't. Rivers are tough
right
here. You can't always get up them in the summertime. And the wintertime, yes, maybe you have access if you're careful. So it's for us around the bays and it is best.
Mm-hmm.
I happen to be up in the river, and that's a rough go. There's times I can't move when I'm in there. Like I just can't. I got to wait till the ice goes out, then I can go. So It's not like it's as you say, you guys, maybe you're a little different on the island. You're more or less no freeze-ups all year round. And
that's true. You're absolutely right. That's true.
Anyway, that's my cry for that this morning.
Well, I'm glad you took the time to join us again, Jim. I always look forward to your next conversation.
Thank you very much.
All the best. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.